Matchmaking doesn't work. If you're a man with a successful career or your own business and you want to find the right girlfriend or wife, let me tell you why matchmaking is a terrible idea and you will burn 10 to 50K and get nothing out of it. Let me give you the strongest argument first. Do you know anybody, personally, who's in a happy relationship with a woman he's physically attracted to? They have intellectual compatibility, matching personalities, and the same values. Does not exist. That's the first point. Now, why does matchmaking not work? And by the way, I'll also tell you what else you can do, what you can do instead to find the right woman for a healthy relationship. The reason it doesn't work is, one, their databases are way too small. Where do you think they get their data from? I have nearly 2 million followers across all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is the smallest, and then Facebook. And I wouldn't be able to do it. Because to match somebody, you would need such a big pool of options. There's only a couple of companies that are legit matchmaking companies. Guess what they are? They're called dating apps. Raya, Tinder, Hinge, Bumble. Yeah, some of them are owned by Match Group and they own several of them, and the other ones. And again, what do? They only do intros, but they don't actually call themselves matchmaking because it doesn't work. You imperfectly communicate what you sort of know about yourself into an imperfect algorithm that's connected to a fairly empty database. And that's how you outsource the most important decision in your life to find the right girlfriend or wife. There's a guy called Scott Galloway. Let's not talk about politics aside, but he's a genius when it comes to business, and he is very well capable of independent thought. And he says, and Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they all say the single most important decision you will ever make in your life is the lady you choose to have by your side. Maybe you're already divorced, maybe you've had past relationships. You realize how much happiness and time and money, how much of it can cost you if you're with the wrong person. You cannot outsource that. And even if I were to give you the perfect date right now, you would probably still mess it up. Because the reason you're in the situation where you are right now is because you also have blind spots in your communication that cause the right women to lose interest in you. In order to find the right woman, you need two things: a lot more quality dates. It'll take a lot more volume than you think. If you think you can go on 3 dates and one of them will be your wife, it's not going to happen. Have I had it over the course of almost 400 clients over 5 years where somebody after 2 or 3 weeks found somebody? Yeah, but those are statistical outliers. They're not relevant. You will have to go on more dates than you initially anticipated. Their databases just don't have that volume. Basically what you'll do with matchmaking is they'll set you up with 10, 12 dates over the course of a year. You'll pay 5 to 50 grand, whatever. And then you'll hope for the best. It doesn't work. They don't have what you're looking for. They just don't. Where is their data supposed to come from? Tell me. Do you know anybody? It doesn't work. And also, by the way, what's going to happen is, let's say they put you up with 12 dates. If you haven't found somebody after date number 7 or 8, you'll start getting a little nervous. You'll start wondering, oh, I hope this is going to be the one. I only got a couple left, because you don't have the skill set to actually replace that person. And one of the most important baseline requirements for a healthy relationship is your willingness to walk away if a lack of compatibility were to present itself. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but you can only have the type of woman you're willing to lose. And you can only have that willingness to lose her and to let her go if you know you can replace her. And therefore, you need a skill set. You need the skill set of being able to replace her. How do you do that? Dating apps, Instagram, and in-person approaches. You don't have to use all of these 3 channels, but it will be one of those 3 channels. You start a conversation with the woman in person, be that in a gym or in a bar or during the day or wherever. You start a conversation in person, you start a conversation on Instagram or on a dating app. That is it. Yeah, but David, what about social circle? Well, yeah, your friend John may set you up with Mary, but how often does that really work? It really doesn't. Extremely rarely, and it's not a scalable strategy, if you will. You cannot rely on that. Industry events, fair, that's fine, that works as well. But again, there's also an in-person introduction. It comes down to one of those 3 channels. There is no way around it. Yeah, but I've tried dating apps. We've talked about dating apps at length before. They work extremely well if you use them well. 70, 80% or more, I have to check, something like that, of my clients find their girlfriend or wife through dating apps. Instagram, fantastic. In-person approaches, also absolutely fantastic. There's no way around it. If you think you can take a lazy way and just pay somebody $25K to find your wife, no, it doesn't work. People come to me and say, David, can you not do it? I could say I do. And then I have women in my inbox asking me, can you match me up with some of those successful men? And I say, no, I won't do that because it doesn't work. It's not supposed to be that way. You will have to go on X amount of dates. X may be 2, X may be 40. It's not going to be 200, maybe 50. I don't know. You will have to go on more dates than you initially thought. But remember, it only takes 4 to 7% of your waking time, 5 to 10 hours a week, for be that 1 month or 9 months. I don't know. There is individual variance. For most people, 3 to 6 months, 7, 9, 2, 4, I don't know. Something like that. If you're not willing to put in 4 to 7% of your waking time, then you deserve to stay single. Then you deserve to keep making love to yourself and fall asleep alone, and wake up alone, eat dinner alone. It's an outcome that needs to be pursued. But it's actually a really enjoyable process. You cannot outsource the responsibility to get a lot more quality options and to work on your communication skills. In essence, it really only comes down to these two things: getting a lot more of the right types of options, and then communicating your personality so authentically, so effectively, that the women you are compatible with will find you super attractive, and that attraction is sustained. It's the number one thing I help my clients with. I was talking to a client from Florida the other day, actually yesterday, while I was in the gym, while I was on the bike, and I have a bit of a hardcore cardio session. And he's doing really well. But again, he also has blind spots in his communication. So we're getting rid of one at a time. And you don't even realize what these blind spots are, because they're called a blind spot for a reason. By the way, we all have them. Last year, I tell that story, I lost quite a bit of weight. Now, I used to be in shape, but then when a couple of years ago, for some reason, we weren't allowed to leave our houses anymore, right? Remember that time? I gained a little bit of weight because I kept eating the way I had, but I just stopped moving so much. And then it didn't really go away anymore. So I contacted a friend of mine who was the best weight loss coach in Germany and said, come on, help me. Okay, so I made a 3-month commitment and I lost a lot of weight. Let me see if I can actually show you this. You'll find this very interesting. And again, whoops, I don't think I have it anymore. Anyway, imagine, I'll show you the pictures at some point if you want. I lost a substantial amount of weight, a lot, right? You say, wow, in 3 months, it's quite something. Let me see if I can show you. Bear with me here for a second. I like these videos to be uncut. Let's see if I have access to it. Because, again, this is not about weight loss. It's just about what you can do when you rid yourself of the blind spots. Because you think, oh, well, so how difficult can it be? There's things you haven't understood about nutrition. I didn't understand the levers of satiation. I thought I can just brute force it. And yeah, you can, but there's much better ways to go about it here. Oh, cool. I actually got it. So this was me last year in March. Okay, look at this. Sure if you can see this. Come on. Come on. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Last year in March, end of March. Okay. Now I will show you 3 months later. 1 second. And genuinely 3 months later. Where's the picture? Let me find it. 3 months later. Come on, load. Why is it not loading? Do it. Can you see the 6-pack? Do it, camera. There you go. Yeah, it might be slightly blurred, but you get the idea, right? Boom. See it here? Is that better? There you go. Anyway, a substantial difference. And without suffering, without spending a lot of time on it, just because I had the right strategies and I had somebody to adjust the strategy, because first we went on a 500 calorie deficit every day. Then I realized I started feeling exhausted because maybe I was actually in a 700-800 calorie deficit. Then we did every other day deficit. And then we looked at micronutrients. We looked at increasing my protein, these types of things. And that's exactly what I help people with. And the people who aren't able to pay, watch these YouTube videos. They help you a lot. But there's just times where we need individual feedback. For example, that one client of mine, he would have the separation in his head. And we as men often do that. Where we think, oh, these women, oh, with them I'm going to have fun. And this is wife material. And you start treating them very differently. The princess and the wild one. No, every princess has a wild side, and every wild lady also wants to be treated like a princess. Are there women who clearly live out different ends of the extreme on a day-to-day basis? Absolutely, for sure. But if you think that you can behave one way with one type of lady on a date and the other way with a different type of lady, because you have the princess and the whole dynamic in your head, if you want to use a derogatory term that a lot of people like to use, that's not a very nice term to use, but that's the thing that you have. Oh, she's a hoe. What? Why? Because she wants to express herself? Well, look, if there are certain things that you don't align with, oh, this is an amount of body count that I'm not personally okay with, fine, you're allowed to have your own rules. You should. That's okay. Don't tell people how they should live their lives. Don't tell men or women how they should live their lives. But you can absolutely say, this is a number that I'm not okay with. Or I wouldn't want her to go party every weekend. That's also fine. Don't tell women at large what they can or cannot do. But you can absolutely decide for yourself what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. But don't think for a second that, and that's a big mistake a lot of men make, oh, I can really see this going somewhere with her, right? And then you act differently. You may go a little bit too deep. You may be vulnerable. You bring an entirely serious vibe, and then you wonder why you get a text saying, I didn't really feel the spark, we're better off as friends, I need to focus on my career, yada yada. And there's more blind spots you have, but once you rid yourself of them, all of a sudden it works, right? I have clients who work in software engineering, for example. It's like debugging. You can have a piece of code that's written perfectly, except for one comma that's off, and then the entire thing doesn't work. Now, here's the good thing. One, it's an imperfect analogy, because in dating, you don't have to do everything perfect. You're allowed to make some mistakes. You're just not allowed to make too many or the big ones, right? But it still makes sense that if you adjust a couple of things over a couple of months, it works. So, assume the responsibility for creating the options you want, improve your communication skills, and you'll be able to find and attract the right woman. It's absolutely possible. If other men have done it, you can do it. But it will take work. If you're not willing to put in 5 to 10 hours a week, 5 to 8 hours, it's not 20. It's not a 25 hours a week master's program, okay? That's not what it is. It's no MBA. 5 to 10 hours a week. That's it. 4 to 7% of your waking time. If you're not willing to dedicate this, you deserve to stay single. And by the way, life is never going to get really less busy. Oh, someday it'll be less busy. If you're an achiever, it won't. Well, maybe when you're 55, you'll take a couple of years to chill. But even then, I have a lot of clients who are 55 or 60. I had a client who was 67, and some of them are still going. Life doesn't ever really get less busy. I'll do it at some point in the future. When life gets less busy, you'll find a new project. When should I start? Yesterday. The next best time? Today. Click the link below and apply for a free initial consultation. Looking forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.